A lack of rain raises the risk of wildfires.
4 hours into harvest, we had our first fire. That was an unwelcome event.
Why this is the time of year you are more likely to encounter fog.
It happens because the ground is still warm from summer, but our nights are getting colder.
Finding the perfect Halloween pumpkin could be tough in some parts of the country this year.
Most fields were so wet you couldn't get your tractor into them.
And an up-close look at how volcanoes form.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. The lull in the 2025 hurricane season is over. Tropical Storm Gabrielle formed in the Atlantic yesterday, ending a nearly 3-week stretch with no storms during the peak of hurricane season. But as of this morning, though, it appears Gabrielle will not impact the U.S. Florida meteorologist Lauren Oleski is tracking the storm for us.
Across the Atlantic Basin, we are monitoring what is now Tropical Storm Gabrielle. This was upgraded to a tropical storm yesterday, and then we have this other wave off the coast of Africa. Neither one of them right now are a threat to Florida. The winds within Gabrielle are at 50 miles per hour right now. This is going to continue to move northwest and then eventually curve out to sea early next week. Could become a hurricane maybe by Monday. This little speck right here, it's hard to see, is Bermuda. They'll have to watch this closely, of course, but again, staying away from us, and it will not remain a threat to South Florida. No tropical threats to us right now. It's our next name on the list, and then after Gabrielle is Umberto and then Imelda.
Nearly 7 million people in California are under flood alerts today thanks to heavy rain from what's left of Tropical Storm Mario. The area from the Central Valley to the Mexican border can also expect strong winds and the chance of flooding as well. The system could even bring lightning to Northern California, increasing the risk of wildfire. Meantime, another unoccupied home collapsed along North Carolina's Outer Banks. The National Park Service says it's the 12th house claimed by the Atlantic Ocean here in the past 5 years. This house was less than a mile from Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. Authorities moved it more than half a mile inland in 1999 to save it from erosion. Well, about 90% of Ohio is experiencing abnormally dry conditions, with nearly half in a drought. With little to no rain in the coming forecast, the dry weather is increasing the risk of fire danger as harvest season approaches. Meteorologist Sarah Converse looks at how local farmers are dealing with the issue.
As farmers get ready for harvest, many are worried about the yields of the late planted crops, but also fire danger due to abnormally dry conditions. Scott Hare is a West Central Ohio farmer who has already experienced the first fire of the season.
We started off this year harvesting last week, and 4 hours into harvest, we had our first fire. That was an unwelcome event. Last year, field fires were a big problem. It looks like it's going to be continued into this year.
The fire danger is also something that Southwest Ohio farmer Karen Foreman is worried about.
It's very important because not only could there be crop loss, there could also be damage to surrounding properties, wildlife areas, as well as your neighbors.
Union County farmer Liz Funderburg explains how she stays proactive to prevent fires.
So nightly, after we're harvesting for the night, we try to blow our equipment off. We also do that in the morning. We try to reduce the amount of dust and buildup that's on the machine. We also make sure we have our fire extinguishers that are charged and ready. We pull water wagons through the field with us.
While local farmers stay prepared, they also want drivers to be patient and aware of farm machinery on the roads.
In Alabama, a burn ban is already in effect for several counties, but Gracie Allen reports dry conditions have prompted one city outside Birmingham to take an extra step.
From May through October, the Alabama Department of Environmental Management bans outdoor burning in counties including Jefferson, Etowah, Shelby, and Talladega. The goal? Limit air pollution and lower wildfire risk.
It takes less to start a fire, so if anyone's burning in their backyard or something like that, that can definitely lead to a wildfire.
This week, the city of Dora went a step further, including a no-burn order effective immediately with no end date until conditions approve. That means no outdoor burning at all inside city limits, and violators could face fines.
You think that you raked around the pile. I've had it happen to me. You rake around the fire that you're burning. You don't think that it can get out, but all it takes is one ember to cross that line and land on a dead log or something, just a little gust of wind, can carry one of those embers across your line, and it happens quick.
Exceptions exist for agriculture and forestry burns with approval. And once the seasonal ban ends, officials say the same safety rules still apply.
The safe practices remain, keeping water nearby, staying with the fire, all that.
Well, now to Texas, where it's almost time to harvest pecans at a farm outside of San Antonio. Meteorologist Joe DiCarlo tells us expectations are high about this year's crop after years of drought.
Here at 38 Pecans in Seguin, they're just about ready to start harvesting their 2,700 trees in just a few weeks.
Pecans are harvested once a year. Typically they grow all year long, and then toward the end of the year, October, November, sometimes December. It kind of depends on when they open up and they're ready to harvest.
38 varieties of pecans to harvest, hence their name. This farm has been in Mark Walls' family for generations. His grandfather planted their first pecan trees in the 1940s and started selling in the 50s.
I'm here to extend the legacy and keep it going.
And this year, expectations are high.
It's very, very heavy. And I think I see that around our county and even in South Texas. You're going to see a pretty heavy crop this year.
And that is thanks to the weather. After years of hot, dry summers that put a lot of stress on the trees, this year has been a welcome change.
What we've seen is a mild summer coupled with heavy rain, and that has enabled these trees to exude a lot of stress, to really produce a heavy, heavy crop.
And that's the case for much of Texas.
Most of the state is going to have a very on year. On year means it's going to be a very, very high production. We're going to see a lot of pecans. The meat is going to be filled out. They're going to be very heavy. So we're excited about that.
And we've been talking a lot recently about how this time of year temperatures start to drop and leaves start to change color. But this time of year also sees an increase in fog. You might notice it on your morning commute. To better understand why this happens, we turn to meteorologist Audrey Lee.
Does it feel like you've been seeing fog more often than not? You're not alone. September happens to be prime fog season. And many of you have been sending in your fog photos the past few weeks, showing just how thick and widespread it's been. On clear, calm nights, the ground releases heat that's then absorbed during the day. As the air cools down overnight, temperatures drop towards the dew point. That's the temperature at which moisture condenses into tiny droplets. This is when we see the radiation fog form, which often blankets the streets, rivers, and fields. It happens because the ground is still warm from summer, but our nights are getting colder. Calm winds and higher morning humidity create the perfect setup for fog, which is why fog is so much more common this time of year. And while it can look pretty, fog reduces visibility and can make for some tricky travel in the mornings. With September not over yet, expect more foggy mornings in the days ahead. It's a reminder to slow down, use your headlights, and stay alert when on the road.
And time now for a check on the weather in cities across the country, and we start in Philadelphia. Here you see the statue of William Penn on top of City Hall. The city of brotherly love is looking at a partly sunny day with highs in the low 80s. Next we head south to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where they are looking at great weather today and right through the weekend. We're talking about sunny skies and temperatures around 80 degrees with the water a very nice 77 degrees. And next up we head to Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, where we see the John Siegenthaler pedestrian bridge, which spans the Cumberland River, is going to still feel like summer in Middle Tennessee today with partly cloudy skies and highs in the low 90s. But if you're looking for a taste of fall, head to northern Michigan. A foggy morning will give way to some sunshine in the town of Paradise and the banks of Lake Superior. Highs today will only be, though, in the mid-60s. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll head to Vermont and see how the weather is impacting this year's pumpkin crop. And we'll look at how one Florida town is turning trash into clean energy.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have relatively warm temperatures on tap in the Northeast today, and there'll be a touch of humidity. In areas we're still waiting to get rid of the clouds this morning, we'll have temps a little bit cooler than areas over the interior New York will make it into the 80s. There's the back edge of any leftover showers and clouds moving out during the afternoon. Now, as we go into Friday, there'll be a stiff northwest wind, drier air starts to move into the region, and cooler temps arrive over the weekend.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Low pressure pushing out to sea over the next couple of days, so we will see things brightening up and drying out for you. Going into your Thursday afternoon, it looks like it will be a mostly sunny day by the end of the day at the least. And then a dry front will likely cross the region, not bringing much in terms of rainfall, but it will knock temperatures back going into Saturday. Warmer until then, though. Upper 70s to the 80s on Thursday, and even warmer for Friday, mid to upper 80s possible.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. We are expecting seasonably warm temperatures across the Florida Peninsula and into the Carolinas. Slightly above average temperatures in the western portion of the southeast. Temperatures will get closer to the middle and upper 90s there, which is not where we typically see temperatures this time of year. That is going to be because there will be abundant sunshine in the western portion of our area before another area of showers and storms builds in for the afternoon and evening. That'll be across the southeast.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Fall is right around the corner, and that means you might be thinking about Halloween. But for some parts of the country, the search for the perfect pumpkin might be harder this year. Alexis Crandall has more from Vermont.
So this is our cute little pumpkin house.
The pumpkin farming season goes back to May and June when the seeds were planted. For some farms, including Paul Mazza's in Essex Junction, wet soil made it hard.
The wet weather this spring made it actually really hard to get a lot of planting done because most fields were so wet you couldn't get your tractor into them. So pumpkins went in a little bit later than we had preferred, but they still seem to be arriving on time and in good quality. So thankfully it came around.
They were worried about the drought, but while their crops recovered, other farms across the state weren't so lucky.
People don't have a crop of pumpkins or squash because of things that happened in May and June. and then we went into a drought, so compounding effects of that. And then other people I've talked to have, they have a bumper crop of good quality pumpkins.
One of those farms having a bumper crop year, Whitcomb Farm at their new location in Essex Junction. They attribute their abundant year to their land, a former field of grass.
It's one of the best crops we've had in the 23 years. We thought the drought there might have hurt us, but I think they say once public pumpkin plants are established and they've kind of pollinated, we've got some what they call virgin pumpkin land here.
Whitcomb says their new farm is less flood prone.
Maine is dealing with a drought issue. Rain in the state is well expected below expected levels. Meteorologist Christian Bridges looks at the numbers.
September has been filled with amazing weather in Maine, but also worsening drought conditions as it overall has been very dry. So far, we've seen less than an inch of rain so far this month in much of the state, and rainfall deficits are continuing to increase. This has continued to compound the long-term dry weather we've seen, with rainfall for 2025 being over 5 inches below normal, essentially missing 2 months of rain. So is there hope for a soaking rain through the end of the month? Current indications are that the northern third of the state will likely see below normal rain for the rest of the month, with equal odds for wetter or drier than normal conditions across central and southern Maine. Due to the ongoing drought, though, it seems likely that drier conditions are probably more likely to prevail. We are also just a week out from the autumnal equinox, which is next Monday on September 22nd. However, current indications are that we're not quite done with summer just yet. Summer temperatures will likely be sticking around into the start of fall. Well above average temperatures are forecast during the final stretch of the month. If things remain dry, the warm weather will serve to continue to worsen the drought conditions we are experiencing. Now, while warmer than normal temperatures are likely, we will also likely start to see more opportunities for frosts and freezes in Maine. Typical first frost dates are around now up in the mountains, with the foothills seeing their first frost on average in the next week or so. Towards the coast, a wait till October for frost is looking increasingly likely with the warmer than normal temperatures that we're forecasting.
And when you think of armadillos, maybe you think of the southeastern United States. Well, it looks like this hard shell mammal has been on the move. Some have been reported in Indiana. Cicely Porter has more.
Their presence in Indiana means that things have changed. The climate has changed in Indiana.
This armadillo is one at the Potawatomi Zoo, but wild ones have been spotted in Elkhart County and LaPorte County.
However, the ones seen in Indiana are not the same ones you'll see at the zoo. The zoo is home to 3 banded armadillos, while the ones found in the wild are 9 banded armadillos.
And they're a little bit bigger, a lot bit bigger, and they do have between like 7 and 11 bands. It's not always exactly 9, but they have more bands and they have more of a leathery shell.
They don't migrate or anything like that. And in order to survive harsh winter climates, they're going to burrow underground.
Some are concerned with the armadillos because they can carry the bacterium that carries leprosy. But Westrich is not concerned.
And so far, we haven't had any results on that, but it's very rare in North America. We don't suspect that we'll have it here in Indiana anytime soon.
Those I talked with sharing excitement over the newest mammal calling the Hoosier State home.
It's very unique to have this animal sort of expanding into areas that we didn't think they could ever get into, northern Indiana and southern Michigan. That's crazy.
Well, this past spring on the National Weather Desk, we marked 45 years since the catastrophic eruption of Mount St. Helens, one of the several volcanoes along the Cascade Mountain Range. But how do volcanoes form? Meteorologist Noah Hawk explains.
Most people along one of the U.S. coasts are still thinking about hurricane season and what those potential impacts could be. But one thing most Americans don't have to worry about are volcanoes, but how exactly do they form? Well, it's mainly going to be between the tectonic plate boundaries and the 2 first layers of the Earth, known as the crust, that top layer, and the mantle, that layer right below it. And there are 2 common ways that volcanoes can come about. The first one being subduction. You're going to have one tectonic plate be lifted up above, where the other one is going to dig down underneath, and the tectonic plate that comes up is going to form that volcano itself. These are more commonly associated with volcanoes that form on top of land, like Yosemite, for example. But there's also another common type known as divergence. This is where the crust is naturally going to separate from one another and move apart and allow that magma to come up from all the way under up towards the surface. And these are more commonly associated with those underwater volcanoes. And typically, most volcanoes are going to form around the Ring of Fire. If you remember just a few months ago when we talked about the powerful earthquake along the Kamchatka Peninsula, has the same idea where it's forming around that Ring of Fire, or again between a tectonic plate boundary. But some volcanoes can form not along them, and Hawaii is a great example. This is just where the natural ability of the crust to separate is allowing that magma to come up and form the islands we know today as Hawaii.
In South Florida, a step towards turning trash into treasure is the first of its kind facility in the area turning waste into clean energy. Tiffany Rizzo has that story.
That's where it all starts, the wells coming out of the landfill.
Trash piled high in Indian River County is getting a second life.
Think of oranges, peels, and that's food. That decomposes. And then when it decomposes, it turns into a gas. And that gas is 50% methane, which is energy.
While this landfill used to just have trash.
So now we could say we have gas, and it's quality gas.
NePetro Energy Chief Executive Officer George Herrera says this new facility captures landfill gas, cleans it, and pumps it into the pipeline as renewable natural gas. a process that's better for the environment and for our wallets. Selling the fuel to power buses, trucks, and even homes.
Today, 50% of all the buses and garbage trucks run on natural gas. You're going to start seeing that over the next 10 years.
And it's cleaner for the environment, preventing harmful methane gas from escaping into the air.
Well, it just makes a lot of sense if we're able to actually capture our waste and turn it into something that can be used.
And time now for a short break, but first we soar over Idaho's Snake River Canyon.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. This rain that has just been really slow to move across the Midwest is going to continue moving east as we go through the weekend. So still hot out ahead of it with the 90s and 80s. But if you've dealt with some of the rain or you're behind it, 70s and 60s. Notice it slides a little farther to the east on Friday and also heading into your Saturday, 70s across the plains.
Well, a good Thursday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchan looking at our forecast today across the region. And we'll be on the lookout for a few strong to severe storms with a marginal severe weather outlook. A little bit of Texas, Oklahoma, into Arkansas. Temperatures here in the 70s and the 80s. Elsewhere, really spotty with the storm chance through the day. And then Friday, we're looking for 80s and 90s across the region. And once again, with a little daytime heating, could see a scattering of a few showers and thunderstorms late day Friday.
Well, hi there, and a good Thursday morning to everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west is the season where the coast clears out from Washington all the way to California. We'll see upper 70s as we head into this afternoon around Santa Barbara and into LA. Meanwhile, 80s out of Missoula and back into the mid-80s out of Albuquerque as well. Some of these scattered showers and thunderstorms pushing over the Sierra Nevada and into Vegas later today. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Autumn is just days away, but several areas are dealing with drought and it's impacting fall foliage. Meteorologist Natalie Walters posted about it on TikTok. Take a look.
Well, it's that time of the year where we start to see the leaves begin to change colors, but we do have some very dry to drought conditions across parts of the U.S. So I wanted to talk about how that could impact those fall colors. So let's talk about what gives the leaves their most vibrant colors. Now, first thing is they need enough rain during growing season. So late spring, early summer, enough moisture. But once we reach fall, it's good to have nice, warm, sunny days and cool nights. So we've been seeing plenty of those warm and sunny days across a good portion of the U.S., but unfortunately, it's been too warm and sunny, leading to some of those drought conditions. The drought conditions could stress the trees and those leaves fall just a little bit earlier, and also without as much moisture, there's less sugar production, which could make those colors less vibrant. That being said, if we start to get enough rainfall, I do think these dry conditions could actually make our fall colors even more vibrant.
People And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.